Hi everyone. This is my entry for the Dr. Von Chilla, the great Dr. Von Chilla video contest. Seeing all the people I follow make an entry encouraged me to get off my butt and do one. Um, as far as how and why I love comic books, um, growing up when I think most of us in this little section of the community grew up, comic books were everywhere. And not only comics, but magazines and just kid culture stuff was you couldn't get away from it. You went to the grocery store, the department store, the drugstore. There were always comics or monster magazines or something there to beguile you. I had my parents divorced when I was very young, but I had a pretty happy childhood. My mom indulged me in my comics and monster movies, and they just became a big part of my life growing up. I think Forrest Ackerman from Famous Monsters kind of became a surrogate father for me. Uh, I loved the magazine and I loved the comics. In grade school, there was a couple of friends that I met, and we were comic fans. And comic books were like a form of kid currency. You know, we would trade comics. When I first really discovered comics, I would say it's probably around '74. I was about 6, and I was immediately taken by DC. The DC covers, the 20-cent covers, I still love them. I get a tingle whenever I see a DC 20-cent cover that I don't have. That's just a magical period for me. And those black covers, especially the horror mystery books, I have to have them all. I love them. And I remember in third or fourth grade, I met a boy, and he was a Marvel freak. And I had dabbled in Marvel, but I was mainly a DC kid, and we would trade back and forth, and I was just a full blown fan, by that point. So I would kind of come in and out of the hobby over the years. By age 11 or 12, I'd become a big baseball nut growing up in St. Louis, and my attention went to baseball cards. But I never wandered away from comics for too long, or monster movies. As far as 5 books that I wouldn't give up, I have to cheat uh, because I realize that there is stuff. As much as I love the stuff, there are things I will give up or have to give up. I had a health scare about 15 years ago where I lost my kidneys, and so I had to sell my collection to help us get through the medical crisis while I got a kidney transplant. And and then I'm about 3 years from a divorce, so I sold everything again. So I love this stuff. So I always try to, it's never far from me. I mean, I know the real important thing is family, my children, but my comics are almost like surrogate children, and no matter how far I roam or if I have to give them up, I always come back, and they always have a special place for me. So I'll give you a few titles here and just what they mean to me. This first one, Warren Magazines, has a very special place in my heart. Um, this Eerie Yearbook, I've heard like Shannon talk about his first back issue purchase through the mail. My aunt was married. My mother's youngest sister got married in probably 75, I guess, 75, 76. And I was a ring bearer in the wedding. And as part of the wedding, for the a wedding gift, my aunt let me pick a selection of back issues from the Captain Company catalog of back issues. And I had forgotten about it at the time, but the night of the rehearsal dinner, opening up that box, and there it was, a big box from Captain Company. It's still the greatest gift I ever received, and there were 5 or 6 issues of Eerie magazine. And I chose, this was like the earliest one. This Eerie 1970 yearbook was the earliest one in the spread, the back issue spread. This was like this 1970. Was 4 or 5 years, about 5 or 6 years before. It might as well have been from another world. The century before. And I was so excited to have these books, and I still cherish this book. I just remember how excited I was to open up that box and see these issues, these old back issues of Erie. So that's one. My first exposure. This is my first issue of Justice League. It's issue 111. I just love this cover. There's just so much going on in this cover of the heroes and superheroes, the heroes and the villains fighting each other over the scale of justice. And I remember buying this with my grandfather at a drugstore in Autumn, Missouri. This may be the earliest comic I ever bought. I've gone through Mike's Amazing World, on the internet, and I think this is the earliest issue that I cover that I, know I bought as far as time-wise. This would have been early in '74, I think. So these 100 pages were just terrific. I mean, it's been a couple days going through them, the new stories and the reprints, and I just loved them. And I've always loved the heads on the side. This is just a great cover. I mean, especially if you're 6. And from that same era, I always loved the DC House ads. And this was a book that I could never find, but it stuck with me from the House ad. These Joe Kubert, I love Sergeant Rock. I bought all sorts of comics. I bought the war comics, the horror comics, and the superhero comics. And back then, TV was a very different place. Like Tarzan and stuff. I mean, that stuff was on every week on our independent channel, so it was in the zeitgeist. So none of the stuff was foreign to us kids. We saw a Tarzan movie every week, so buying a Tarzan book was just like another superhero. But I love the war books. I love Sergeant Rock the most. And this cover, I remember seeing it in the house ad at the time, just haunted me. I mean, I just think that the Kubert war covers from this era are just terrific. There's just so much drama in this cover, and this scene just wrenched at me as a boy. Said, oh my gosh, what is he gonna do? What is Rock gonna do? What a dilemma. So again, this is one I couldn't find. I bought a ton of Army at War, but I could never find this issue. So I was very happy to eventually find it. Let's see. Going back to my favorite magazine of all time. This was one of my favorite covers. The kind of touchstone for my awakening as a fan was seeing Seventh Voyage of Sinbad at the drive-in in '74, I guess. That movie just blew my mind, and I love the Cyclops. I still do. It's still my favorite movie monster. And of course, seeing him on the cover of this magazine, it just everything just blew up for me. So this time I was buying all the monster magazines, as many comics as I could. But this is a very special cover to me and a very special issue. I bought this at our Venture department store. I was about 7. And my last one is a bit of a cheat. As I said, I sold my entire collection years and years ago, and I was determined I wasn't going to be chase old paper anymore. I was going to buy collected editions, and so here is my favorite comic of all time, and I don't have the single issue anymore, but I do have it in the Masterworks. So this is actually Marvel Masterworks Defenders Volume 2. And I'll show you the cover here of Defenders issue 15. I can't tell you how much I love this book. I bought a few Marvels before this. I bought the monster titles, of course, And I have an issue of Werewolf by Night, I think number 9, maybe my first Marvel. But this issue here, I bought this at our local IGA, was really my true introduction to the Marvel Universe. There's so much action on this cover, and the issue, we're introduced to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and it was just a fun time. Just discovering the Marvel Universe on your own. It just every issue had trailed breadcrumbs to another corner of the universe. So you're learning that more and more. And Defenders 15, I read this book backwards and forwards dozens of times. And this, if pressed, this would be my favorite comic book of all time. So that is that. I want to thank Dr. Von Chilla for the opportunity to share this with you guys. So thanks again, and I will see you soon.